Since the beginning of time, people have been categorising Pokemon by how strong they are. A lot of the time they get ranked and sorted into tiers. Even in the actual world of Pokemon, people are always deciding who's strong and who's weak.
But this Krabby sure is shrimpy.
The magic's disappeared.
Looks like it's ready for the deli counter.
Hey, look at this! Baby brought along a baby Pokemon!
So this custom challenge is F tier, and they've basically just gone through and got what's essentially the worst of all the Pokemon. There's either better ones out there, or their abilities are just useless, or the energy cost for their attack or their retreat is too high compared to what they do, or funny enough there's some in here that just have terrible synergy because the other ones are unavailable. Some funny examples being we've got Tatsugiri but no Dodonzo, Latios but no Latias, and a few of the Triumphant Light Link cards without any Arceus. Combined with only being able to use the Pokemon from the rubbish tiers, there's also a few banned trainer cards that normally elevate them to be a bit better than they are. So there's no Erica for the grass healing, no Irida for the water energy healing, no Lily for the stage 2 healing, Rare Candy's banned as well, so no evolving straight to your stage 2s, and then finally Blaine and Sophocles, so Magmar loses his benefit, and Vikavolt not as good as it could be. Then the final point, even though B1's already been released, this is only for A series cards, basically because it was all tiered and ranked and tested while A series was out there. So there's a few new cards, because Flame Patch is going to boost up Magmar, Volcarona, Heavy Helmet for any of the high energy retreat cost cards, Marlon for the Psychic Jellicent, or a few others like if you've got 50 HP Pokemon all you need to search. So I ended up building 7 different decks to start with for testing. And then I did a couple of tweaks and I did a couple of alterations and a few variants here and there. But so to end up, here's the top 8 decks I tested and how I felt about them. So the F tier of the F tier decks goes to Xatu. Obviously normally it's partnered in Typhlosion for the decks that make use of it, for the guaranteed chip damage. Without that here, you can only really rely on either other Pokemon attacking or Poison Barb, which can be avoided quite easily in the format. But the deck's just not that good. It's clearly F tier for a reason. It's just a gimmick. Number 7. And this was my Acerola setup. Obviously Mimikyu's here, but it's the worst version. 2 Psychic Energy for a coin flip to potentially use their attack. And obviously the whole point here is Mimikyu takes damage, Acerola to flip the damage back on them, then attack them back. The fact it's a coin flip though means you need to pack some wheels in there, so it already dilutes your chances of just getting Acerola from your trainer pool. And then only 70 hit points means actually there's a couple of things that can just knock it out in one go, so you don't even get to use Acerola. And there weren't any other Pokemon types here you could combo with it that could damage it on the bench. They only ever damage themselves. So yeah, it was a lot to rely on, it wasn't that great. Number 6, and this goes to Dark. There's a couple of Dark options. I chose to go with KO by attrition. Run the combination of Toxicroak, so you could Toxic them for 20 damage poison, plus Absol to hit the bench. It was a nice little thing where if you guarantee they're going to get KO'd by the poison that turn, you just switch in the Absol and just start chipping the bench before they show up. As well as Absol being able to one-shot any babies on the bench. But it just didn't do enough damage, so if your opponent got set up and started healing, they could easily probably outlast you and outdamage you. And also Comfy's in the format, as well as Steel Apron, both of which hindered the poison strategy. Number 5, and this was my fire build, but with a specific strategy, and I went with Volcarona plus Persian on the side and Poker Flutes. Because you've got Persian, you get Meowth to draw cards early. And ideally, you want to get Volcarona on the bench with about 4 energies on it. And then the 2 ways are either Persian get KO, Volcarona coming to KO something else, and you've got Flutes to start bringing stuff back out. I put double Flute in there too to do it twice. And actually the other way to do it, even if you couldn't KO something big or they got set up, because Volcarona's 80 damage isn't that good when there's a lot of stuff with 90. If Persian can force discard a basic, you can then use the Poker Flutes to bring that back. And this deck worked quite well. The problem is water weakness just took it out, and water was a very popular deck choice in the format, at least in testing anyway. So I just couldn't run it. It's a shame. I really liked it. It was funny and surprising, but it got shelved for some other stuff. Number 4. Everyone was testing water decks. My water deck version was Broxish and Wishcash. Broxish though is pretty popular because once you get the damage it hits for 70, which is quite good. There won't be a lot of fire decks, so it doesn't get for weakness, but 10 and 70 Plus, a lot of the Bruxish decks use a Rocky Helmet on it, so your opponent automatically sets up the extra damage. Or they're running it with Frostlass, who deals 10 damage to everyone, so that's already got your chip on it, and stuff like that. I actually was sneaky and ran mine with Elekid and Double Cyrus, and it also helped because Elekid's free attack meant I could just put water on the Witch Cache. So I managed to build it up in quite a few games. There were a couple of games though I would have lost, except for the fact I pulled out a couple of flips on a Misty, and I combined that with the fact that Electric, again, like Water did the Fire, Electric just took out my Water decks because both were weak to it. Unlike the other deck setups that had Water types with a nice weakness, both of mine were weak to Electric. And I feel like Electric's going to be the second most popular. So again, I've just decided to shelve it. Number 3. This was a funny idea I had later on. For ages I was messing around with Claydol. I really wanted to just get the heal block out and just make some use out of it. And then I suddenly thought, Claydol Dark. The whole thing about the Dark deck is all of them could attack for 1 energy pretty much. Which, if you're not retreating them every turn, means you actually get all the energy to build up Claydol to get to its ridiculous 50 damage for free energy. But the main thing is obviously Toxicroak does the poison, and if you get your Claydol out, they can't Big Malasada it, if anyone's got it, they can't Pokemon Lady it, they can't Potion. So if they want to stay in attack, their health's slowly sapping away while you just go and do all the rest of it. I found it worked quite well. A lot of the times the Dark deck lost because the opponents could just out damage me and heal off what I was doing. The anti-heal stopped them doing half of that. Some of the quicker decks could get around it, but a lot of them, if they needed a couple of energies or had someone with a bigger retreat cost, it was a lot harder for them to attack and run away. The main weakness of this deck though was Steel. Obviously I only made it later on, so I didn't fully test it, but I found a couple of Steel decks, and that Steel Apron did just shut it down. That and one deck for Comfy. So again, it had most of the same problems as the Dark, it just had less problem with them out healing me. Another fun one I wanted to explore, and it was alright. Number 2. This is my Grass deck, which main features Heracross. Now obviously Heracross in most formats is a really rubbish tier. You need 3 energy to do 50, or if you can flip 2 heads, 120. He does have the support guard though, so Barrier lets you do it for 1 energy, but it's pretty risky. But I found it works quite well here, like 50 for 1 with 100 damage. So basically it would just go out as a tank. If you had double Barrier in hand for 1 energy, it would get 2 attacks off, so that's dealing 100 damage to them in the time it takes to knock him out. And I'd obviously paired it with Leafeon, so the whole time he's just attacking for a single energy, powering up the Leafeon on the bench. If I'd managed to pull it off right, usually about 90 by the time he shows up. And again, the Eevee in the format's a terrible one, 30 damage for 2. So it takes more energy to attack than what Leafeon does, and it doesn't have any search features. The Grass decks are good too because, as I said, there's a lack of fire. There's not many fire options around really, and no one's really testing them. But I don't know, I just found it lost a couple of Grass mirrors. I don't know why. That just seemed to be its main downfall for me. The reason I'm not running it though, it was one of my best choices. There's a few games where I just came in like a clutch double Heracross, which completely changed the momentum. And the problem with that is, yeah, it's one of these things where it happens in training. I'm like, oh, that's super good, that is. Like when you flip 10 Misties. But I can guarantee once it gets to Tourney, it's not going to pull it off once. And so I thought I'd go less of that gamble and more something else, a different gamble. And it was Electric. Now, Electric was my best deck in testing right up until about 2 hours before the event started. Got Electabuzz, who can hit 80 for 2 energy on a coin flip, and Electrode, who can also hit 80 for 2 energy on a coin flip. Obviously, you just pack in 2 wheels, and hitting 80 or hitting 100 on all those like 90 HP water Pokemon. It's pretty good like breakpoints as well. You can take a lot of stuff out. Electabuzz obviously has a downfall of his 20 damage in return, but the actual main draw here as well. First is the lack of fighting. Relicanth seems to be the main fighting option people are running. There's no pure fighting decks out there that I've seen. But it's actually the fact that Voltorb hits for 30. Sure, he takes a 10 recoil, but that 30 damage turn 1, if anyone's like running around with Acerola or Elekid and they're just forced to like Baby Brick, that takes them out in 1 shot. Voltorb with a helmet and Giovanni effectively hits for 60 if you go second, which is strong for just a single energy. But yeah, that was my top option right up until about 2 hours before the event started. But I really wanted to run Claydol, so I started messing around with the Claydol stuff. Obviously I've already talked about the Dark Claydol. I ran one with Bruxish for a bit to stop people healing off the chip damage, but actually that was more of a hindrance for me. And in the end I went, do you know what, I'm going to combine it all. So I actually took the best bits of my Electric deck and put in the best bits of my Claydol deck. So yeah, I'm running Voltorb Electrode with Giovanni's for the early damage, Wheels for the flips for the 80, X Speed in case I lead with a Baltoy, so I can get him out of there, and he can sit on the bench, evolve to Claydol, stop them healing. Rocky Helmet as well, so chip damage that can't be held off. And this one I put a giant cape in. I just found it's got some use for it. You know, Electrode on 90, but sticking up to 110, it means you can survive 100 damage hit from someone hits for 100 in the format, I can't remember who. And the Guzma, because this felt a lot like Little Cup when it was setting it up. And just a lot of low break points, so tools became really quite important in the matchups. So I had to put one in there. But yeah, that's the deck. I barely tested it. I've got a feeling I know how it works, but we're going to go straight to game one and see what happens. The first round's up, and about 2 hours before registration closed, when I was still messing around with all the decks, I was practicing against this guy in what was a mirror match of the electric deck I had. But the main advantage he had was the X-Speed Elemental switch, so he could just go from one to another and just keep on attacking, which is quite clever. But I know it's quite a dangerous deck, and I think he's going to quite far with it. My chances, if I get Voltorbs out and go fast, it'll be alright. The main thing is, because I'm running the Claydols, I do have super effective damage. So if I do go second against the Voltorb, Baltoy can take it out of a Giovanni. Annoyingly, the one potion is the only healing I'm stopping, so it doesn't work the best. But he's got double gusting, no hand stuff though, so that's fair. Well, the first test is here. Let's see how this deck does. So, Baltoy going second. Against Voltorb. Giovanni in hand. Is this going to play out exactly how I described it? So I'm not going to drop Rocky Helmet because I want him to put the energy of Voltorb and attack. It's only if he evolves to Electrode though, I have a little problem. Bit more of a little problem. Alright, depends if he's got will or not. Even if you don't know, it's still a 50-50. Yeah, okay, game one settled. That didn't take long. Going first, single Pokemon again. Although this time at least I've got Pokeball and Research, so I can actually get some other guys on the bench. Oh, I was about to say I don't have X speed, so I'm not going to do anything, but I do. I'll save Claydol for now in case you use Sabrina's into Baltoy. So, now, what do I want to do? Do you know what? I was gonna. This is a tough decision. I wanted to use the wheel to get the guaranteed KO. Instead, I'm going to use the Guzma. Not a guaranteed KO. But he can't get the revenge knockout. Yeah, there's the wheel, so... and there's both my wheels. Now I'm interested to see if he does Buzz or Voltorb. I'd imagine you'd do Voltorb. But then Baltoy kills it in Revenge. Let's see if you've got another wheel. Nope, but you managed to get the heads off. Which is a shame because... do this. If you have Will Rocky Helmet, then my Electro is going to sacrifice itself. And now I'm in a pickle because what if you've got your Electrode? I'm gonna have to do it. Like, you've got two Electrodes in there somewhere. If your Voltorb evolves, you can KO Baltoy in one go. If he doesn't, Baltoy gets the KO on you. So if you do evolve and you just hit Claydol for 50, I need an energy to retreat, so it's a loss. So just got fingers crossed you don't have Electrode in hand. There we go. It did not, so the gamble pays off. That was close, that was. Right, game 3 decided then. Going second, so I have to leave a Voltorb. Got Sabrina, so I'm not dropping the Baltoy. I made that mistake in practices. Got all of his basics already, nice. And guess what? Me too. So I'm gonna have to cape. Otherwise, he could just take me out. Oh, he does have a Guzma, but not in hand. Or if he had it in hand, he didn't want to play it. That was a good outcome, because I was quite worried he was going to evolve into Electrodes to stall for a turn. Although I realise now I've just set myself up for a possible Guzma KO. Sabrina, if I send out Voltorb, both Voltorbs have got that. It doesn't really matter. So 90. He adds 30 on, so definitely going to use this one to clear you out. So now you can't get the Guzma KO, you can get the Voltorb KO. Now I have left myself open here for a X-Speed Elemental switch to get the KO of Electabuzz. But I could also top deck Electrode. No, but with the Repel, got this game in the bag. Because I think if you evolve into Electrode, Baltoy can still get the KO of Giovanni. Or that you do have a potion. Can't forget that. If you potion and Guzma, then I can't win. No, but that's it. I think you've got X-Speed in your hand. Just having a quick double check there. Well, good game. That was some tough games. Opening for win though. So let's see what else we get. Hopefully I can match up a couple of water decks or a couple of decks that rely on healing a lot, which is what we planned for. I don't know. Anyway, catch you in the next round.